Week 17 is nearly in the books, and we have one more week to go in the regular season of the NFL here on Proline TV. Jim Feist, Greg DePalma, and that's Detroit and San Francisco. Monday night, we'll wrap it all up. And then we only have a handful of games that mean anything. The NFL did some jockeying once again as far as the schedule is concerned. We have 2 Saturday games, both from the AFC North. And this is important, of course, because the Baltimore Ravens have a 1-game lead over Pittsburgh. They can sew up the AFC North with a win in the early game on Saturday. But if they lose in the early game on Saturday, then the Pittsburgh Steelers will have something to play for, and that is a division title. We're going to go over all the playoff scenarios so you know exactly what to look forward to when you're deciding to place your wagers early this week. Of course, we're going to be on the air on Thursday. The next time you get to see us is going to be Thursday on Playbook ATS. So we'll definitely have all of our opinions ready to go for the upcoming week in the NFL. And then Jim and I will wrap it all up on Saturday morning. Maybe you and I can. I don't know. Well, it's up to you if you want to wait for the injuries on Saturday, because I know Mark's not going to be available again this week. So you and I maybe could do the show on Friday if you like, Jim. So either way, Jim and I will wrap up the week with our final observations later in the week here on Proline TV. But before we get into all of that, Jim, week 17, probably the worst football I have seen collectively in the NFL in my entire life.
It was pretty bad. There was a couple games that stood out. The 2 overtime games, of course, were great. But terrible coaching, awful coaching. Raheem Morris should not be a coach in the NFL, except the defensive coordinator. It was awful. I was very impressed with the game that Penix played, their running game, the pressure they put on Daniels was incredible. The coaching. He probably cost himself. He probably cost Atlanta the game. I'm glad he did, because I have a ticket on Tampa to get to the playoffs, and by Washington winning, Tampa will be in the playoffs unless they lose to the Saints, which I don't think will happen. Now, let me just say something about this. Baltimore needs to win. They will win, but they'll probably play the first half. They're 17, 18-point favorite. They'll probably play the first half, get a big lead, and then sit on it, rest their players. That's what I probably expect them to do.
So that means you would bet the first half.
If I was going to bet it, yes.
Yeah.
Which I may not. I mean, it's not really, I really don't have to bet it. Now, the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game is interesting. Pittsburgh has 3 options to start the playoffs. They can go to Baltimore, they can go to Buffalo, or they can go to Houston.
Or they can host both Baltimore or one of those teams. They can win the AFC North.
They're not going to win the AFC North. Baltimore would have to lose. If you want to make that bet, I'll book it for you. Okay, I'll take your bet. I'll take
is
your
DTR. Who is DTR starting?
I could start and do as well as he does. Pittsburgh has a reason to play this game, and they've looked absolutely horrendous. Tomlin poo-poos it. He doesn't. I mean, Tomlin is a character. Just what he is. But Cincinnati screwed up the other day. They should have taken a knee. They should have run the clock down, kicked the field goal, and not given Denver any time. But by doing what they did, they got their running back hurt, and then ended up doinking 1 field goal off the post and got lucky. But in this case, Pittsburgh is not unmotivated. They definitely are motivated to win this game and to go to Houston, which has not played a good game in months. So that would probably assure them of a very good chance of winning that first round.
I will tell you this, though, from my experience and from talking to people around the league about these very scenarios over the years. Honestly, players themselves don't really care that much. They're happy they're in the playoffs. They know, all right, who are they going to play? Honestly, the coaches do and the front office people do, but the players themselves, They really don't care. It's just not that important to them. So I would just keep that in mind. But you know what? Like you said, though, the way the Bengals are capable of blundering things, because they almost blundered it away again. It was almost fitting. It was like when they missed that field goal, you just felt that they deserved it. And right there, if I was the owner of this, now the Bengals are one of those teams, have one of those ownerships that they're not going to fire the coach forever. But I think he would. I think even he would have gotten canned at the end of that game for doing that, knowing that you have your kicker injured, knowing that the kicker that you're going to throw out there has an erratic career and has a career highlight film of bad misses. How you just settle for the field goal try of 35 yards is fireable with that offense. And the fact that he got lucky that they got the ball back, like you said, and still won the game. I don't know if that is going to mean anything this week against Pittsburgh, but all I know is that if they don't make the playoffs now, I think that should just be a little bit of a warning sign for the administration that maybe this guy isn't the right
guy. Well, the big problem, I mean, they do score points, and they can score points, and they got a great offense. Their defense has been the real problem, and it was, again, they can't stop anybody. But
hey, if I'm a head coach, as soon as Zach Taylor gets fired, I'm hiring him. Be my offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's a good offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
and with the fact that we just talked about it too, with all these teams hiring defensive head coaches, which is like Raheem Morris absolutely lost the Atlanta game yesterday. Now, I'm glad he did, because it saved one of my tickets on getting Tampa Bay into the playoffs, which is a nice ticket for me. But he blew it. He absolutely he's sitting there like in a trance, not using his timeouts in a situation. You got a rookie quarterback playing the second game on the road. Their defensive line is causing havoc with Daniels. They're doing a lot of things right. He abandons the run when they were running the ball so well. Just absolutely terrible coaching from top to bottom with him. I would not have him as my coach. No way in God's earth would he be my coach next year. But
they also need some defensive backs who know how to tackle. On that touchdown by Rodriguez on that drive, man, you saw the one guy, D. Alford, the nickelback. He just, he puts his head into the guy. This was the fourth down that the drive kept alive when McNichols, the number 3 running back for Washington, when he was able to get that first down on fourth down, because the DB for Atlanta basically decides that he's going to tackle by throwing his head at the guy. And so he gets a first down. And then a few plays later, Rodriguez, the number 2 running back, you got the guy in your sights, a DB for Atlanta, which was their number 1 corner, Terrell. Same thing. He throws his helmet into the guy. No wrap-up tackling whatsoever. If these DBs could wrap up tackle, they would have stopped that drive and might have won the football game.
There were a lot of ways that Atlanta could have won that game, and I'm not too sure they're not the better team. Honestly, Daniels is amazing.
Well, Daniels makes Washington a better team.
He's but giving Penix the fact that this was his second game in the pros and his first on national TV on the road, that kid's he's not a kid. He's actually older than everybody else. But
he's older. He's very experienced, and that
he has got a ton of talent. He's got a bullet arm. He's got a ton of talent. But I just, it's terrible. We got a league where you have 3 and 4 win teams, and you got 10, 12 teams that are just garbage. And we're going to go into the playoffs. There's going to be 14 teams in the playoffs, and maybe 7 of them, and you stretch it to stay 7. You have to include Tampa in that to make it 7, to have some kind of a chance to a couple games. The
Well,
rest of the league, forget about it. 6, 8 teams are just garbage. Garbage.
I still think that a team that could wreak havoc in the playoffs. I'm not sure they could run the table. Probably not, but I think they could win 2 games, including upset the Chiefs. Would be the Chargers, because of they know they can play with them. They've got the coaching to play with them. And the Chiefs will be in a situation where they wouldn't have played a meaningful game in 3 weeks. And this only happens, though, if Pittsburgh loses and the Chargers win. That would set up the road for the Chargers to be in a position where the Steelers are right now. So, again, like you were saying, the Steelers have to play for. That's what they have to play for. Like you said, it means an awful lot to us fans that if you're a Steeler fan, you want to go to Houston. But if the Steelers lose to the Bengals and the Chargers win, the Chargers are going to Houston. So
that pretty much would assure you the next round, because
the next round is the Chiefs.
Houston is playing very bad. Chiefs, of course, we know who the Chiefs are with the coaching that they have and the pedigree. I mean, they're going to be very difficult to beat. I mean, they got the number 1 seed. They're playing at home. They're going to be rested. That AFC now is. It all goes through Kansas City, and that is not a good place to go.
And then Denver has to still, remember, we said this last week, and I know that everybody the initial thoughts to everybody are reasonable. They're all talking about Kansas City's rushing everybody. But I'm telling you, as we get closer to game time, more and more people are gonna understand that Carson Wentz is going to play his guts out. And you can't rest everybody. There will be starters out there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And Denver has a rookie quarterback. They're on a slide now. They'll have pressure on them. And don't think the home game is maybe a good thing, because they're going to have the home pressure. That game is not going to be as easy as I think some people think it should be.
Yeah, if you like them, you can take 10 right now.
Is it really 10?
Yes.
I will take 10. I'll take the what is it, 350 on the money line then?
I don't have that price in front of me.
It's got to be about 350. If it's 10, then I'll take the money line too.
You know, Miami has a shot. They have a shot.
They could screw up the Bengals if Denver loses and the Dolphins beat the Jets. It's the Dolphins in the postseason, because the Colts couldn't beat the New York Giants.
You know, that is. I'm going to tell you something. Who's the general manager of the Colts?
It's what's his name?
Bullard.
Bullard, yeah.
You know,
he's not going to be there anymore.
Else in that division has won the division twice in his term there, and he's not won it once. This man does not belong in that job.
Yeah, I think it's over for him now. Yeah.
He should have been fired years ago.
But he's a yes man to Jim Irsay, and that's the thing.
Well, Jim Irsay needs to be fired too.
Well, he owns the team, but that's the problem. Is you get these owners.
They ruined Andrew Luck's career by not giving him enough protection. They destroyed the guy, and he was a great quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, this is what happens when you get like a Caleb Williams, who I'm not really high on anyway. He goes to Chicago. It's a mess. There's no coaching there. There's no nothing there. They can't get him out of his own way, because if he doesn't see the first read, he doesn't know what the hell to do. That he runs around and gets sacked 1,000,000 times a game. But the good thing about him is he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, because he doesn't force the ball. He just runs. Yeah. So, but these bad owners and bad general managers and bad coaches destroy players, destroy them. And then you get a good one. You get the good one, the good owners, the good general managers, the good coaches, like you have in Kansas City, like you have in Philadelphia, like you have in Baltimore. Then they go for, these are the same quality organizations. So when you're handicapping these sports, you really have to look at the organization from top to bottom. I mean, Cleveland, Indianapolis, they probably should just ban those cities and not have teams. I mean, they're horrible. The players in Cleveland they're actually saying, unless you can show us you have a game plan to try to win, we don't want to sign here anymore. Our contracts are up. We're leaving.
Well, where is that? Who was the person? Who is the player that said that?
Oh, I can't remember his name. There's more than one.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, it's almost like what we saw in college.
If you're an NFL player, you can get a job somewhere else.
That is not a problem. Absolutely.
So why would you play in Cleveland when you're going out there? He said we can go out there and not win and still get hurt.
But you know what? Here's the thing, though. I will say this, and Fred Greetham, who covers the Browns, did tell me this. He goes, as all the faults that what's his name? Who's the owner for the Browns? Yeah, all the faults he has. One of the faults he does not have is he's not cheap.
No, he spends money.
And here's the thing: if I'm a player for the Browns,
not
I know, but if I'm a player, I'm the employee in an organization. And the guy who's running the organization pays me well. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be an asshole and basically spit in his face by telling people you shouldn't come here. Who the fuck are you? The guy's paying you a lot of money out of his own pocket. He doesn't have to pay you. He pays you good money. He, again, unwisely, but he does it. And your thanks to him is to tell people don't come here. That's the kind of players that are in the league today.
Okay, well, what you have to understand, and I think you're looking at it from one side. There's another side. Let me explain to you. When you're a competitive individual, and these football players are competitive individuals, they're high testosterone guys. They played a physical sport their whole life and risked injury their whole life to play this sport. And they don't play it just because they like it. They play it because they want to win. They want to accomplish something. So they're motivated by something in addition to money. They're motivated by that. And when you're in an organization that doesn't know how to win, that in which this team does not know how.
But it depends on who that is. I want to know who said it, and I want to know what their background is.
Well, it's all over the internet. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm looking here. I just typed this up. And he's
a big lineman. He's a big guy. He's a lineman.
Offensive lineman.
I don't know. I don't know.
Here, because I'm looking at an article here from the Cleveland, what is this? Cleveland.com. Why the Browns defensive players want to keep the core together despite losing 2024 season. So it must not be a defensive player. So it's got to be an offensive player, like you said. So it's probably an offensive lineman. I gotta look at it, and I can't find it now. But so you're going to see right there. There are some players, they're fine. They have no problem. So if there's someone on the team that doesn't want to be there, you can leave. That's how I would put it. And if I'm another GM, and I see what you're saying, but I would look at it as I'd have to know. That's why I have to know the player's background. Is he a player that has a great reputation, team captain, leader of men? Then I'm going to take what he says very seriously. But if he's somebody that is just always just opening his mouth, he just says what he says, he doesn't really help the team as much as, he thinks he does, then I'm not listening to what he says. So, but if I'm a Browns fan, look, I'm not happy. I'm not trying to sit here and defend the Cleveland Browns organization. Trust me, because
how about the Indianapolis Colts organization?
Yeah, that's another one.
And you can. Jerry Jones pays a lot of money to people too, but he's an interfering coach, and they haven't won a game. They haven't got to a championship in 27 years.
Yeah. After
he fired somebody by the name of Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, because of the egos. Yep, they just couldn't handle it.
As an athlete, and I played one professional sport in my life. It was pool. I didn't go to play. I went to win.
Sure.
And there was no organization. It was just me and my road buddy, and that was it. But if I'm in an organization that doesn't know how to prepare, doesn't know how to train, that doesn't know how to manage, doesn't know how to recruit, I didn't grow up and practice and try to be the best player I could be to come here and just potentially get hurt and never win. and never have a chance to win. So that would bother me.
Did you hear what? Did you see what happened to the Ward, the quarterback of the Hurricanes? So they were in the bowl game. What was it? Yesterday, a couple of days ago? I don't even know.
Yeah, he didn't play the entire game, correct?
No. So he decides to sit out the second half, and of course, everybody's ripping him. And RG3, who's like one of the worst TV analysts going in the NFL, sticks his nose into it and says something, calling out how you shouldn't put down student athletes like Ward, who are giving it their all, and they got to think of the future. And if Ward had gotten hurt in the game, then you'd call him stupid for playing. But here's the difference: is the reason Ward sat out halftime and did not play, and did play in the first half, is because of a record. He wanted to break a record. Once he broke the record in the first half, he sat out the second half. So he's thinking what's important to him are records, not necessarily making sure I'm healthy, because if that was all he was worried about, he wouldn't have played the game. And I think everybody would have been okay with it, because players are sitting out games all the time. But when you decide to play and you only do it for a record, and then you could care what happens to your teammates in the second half.
I'm not going to defend what he did, because I don't know the situation. I wasn't even that aware of it. But you got to remember something too. In a practical world, now before NIL and the transfer portal, these kids were not making any money. Now some of them are now making some pretty good money in college. Not all of them. You know more about this than I do, so I'm not trying to be an expert at this. But a lot of these kids come from very poor backgrounds. So they have families, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, grandparents that have no money.
Don't play.
They were very fortunate to be athletic enough.
Sure.
Get enough support to be able to play at a college level and possibly get into the pros and make some money. So as 18 to 22-year-old kids that they are, to say that, gee, I don't want to play and get hurt and not get a contract in the NFL and not be able to take care of my family. It's a serious
issue. He shouldn't have played.
It is a serious, it's more than just football.
Sure.
It's life.
Everyone understands it. But what you don't understand is playing in the first half for a record. If he was worried about not getting hurt, he shouldn't have played at all. That's what the point is. Nobody can. Players are sitting out all the time. We're all used to it now. We all understand it, but we don't understand that. That's telling you that he cares about a record, not his teammates
or his potential of making money. It's just all about the record. The record is the number one thing.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. That should be the least of his thoughts.
We actually have the same thing going on in Philadelphia this coming week.
Yes, and that should not even be. No way does he play. No way.
Here's the situation. If he does play, they're going to have to play the entire offensive line, because you can't put him out there with a whole bunch of backups.
Yes, you're right.
So that means you're risking everybody on the offensive line and him to get the record.
He can't play.
No,
that's not even a tough decision. He cannot play.
No, he should not play.
And I would be shocked if he plays. Shocked.
I agree. I totally agree.
So there's just no way. Too bad he couldn't get the record, and it is what it is. And by the way, we're playing another game now. If you can't get the record by the number and the games that Dickerson did it, then I'm sorry, just don't even do it then, because it's not right. There'll be an asterisk in there. I mean,
we have a guy out here who plays for the Raiders, Brock Bowers. Had a great year, set a record, beat Mike Ditka's record. But the difference is he's playing 18 games or 17, and Ditka played 12?
That's it.
14? So I mean, you got to. This guy played 100 games and this guy played 20. He has a better record. Come on.
Yeah, and the passing game too is a lot easier. nowadays.
And I'm not knocking Bowers. He's really
No,
good.
we all
He's
know how
really
good he is.
But
Yes.
you can't put those two things in the same way. No,
No,
can't do
not
it.
at all. So, like you said, Tampa Bay is back in the driver's seat now. So it looks almost. I mean, they got to be what, a 14-point favorite already?
Exactly. Let me say
It
something.
is. It
Yeah,
should be.
14 across the board. Let me just say there aren't too many teams in the NFL outside of the top 6 that I would say are scary to the top 6, because I think if the top 6 come to play, it's going to be very hard to beat them. But Tampa Bay is actually one team I would say be damn careful of what this guy called Baker Mayfield is doing down there. He is so amped up. He's so athletic. He's having one hell of a year. He is my most valuable player. Why? Because he doesn't have anything much around him. He's doing it all. He's doing a lot of this by himself.
And it's great to see. And that's why it would be really nice to see him in the postseason. And if he gets into the postseason, they're going to be a 4 seed.
And who are they going to host?
And that means, and here's the funny thing. Get this. The funny thing is, if Detroit loses to Minnesota next week, it would be Detroit at Tampa Bay in the first game. Tampa Bay already beat Detroit, yes. And now they would have to beat them twice in the same season and have to do it at home, which would obviously be a good thing. But anyway, I don't know if that's going to happen, but it could, because one of those teams is going to be the 5 seed.
Minnesota's in a very advantageous spot this week.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay's getting either Detroit or Minnesota. I mean,
neither one's a bargain, but Detroit's playing tonight, which gives them a short week, travel back home to play Minnesota at home in Detroit. And Minnesota is playing out. I mean, where did Sam Darnold get a rebirth? This guy's playing out of his mind.
Perfect proof of why these kids need to be given a lot more time than they're given nowadays. A quarterback, they are just thrown into the wolves, and then they're kicked off the team after 2 years if they don't make it, and they're thrown out into the world of other teams and coaches and systems, and it's great to see. It really is. The NFL needs it. And now Minnesota has a very good thing because there is no doubt now they have got to sign Sam Darnold long-term. And I don't care what they did with J.J. McCarthy, and he was our quarterback of the future. They got to trade J.J. And look, you'll get a first-round draft pick for him now. Now you've got a great opportunity to use it first. Imagine one of those top 10 teams in the draft would want a quarterback. You just give him JJ.
How about the Giants yesterday? They were averaging 14 points a game. They come out, score 45, lose the draft choice. They're now number 5 in the draft score. Why? Why would they want to do that?
Well, you see, that's the difference between your management can do all they can to tank, but if the players actually step up and play, even the guys like Locke, nothing you can do. Hey, if he can go out there and have the game of his life, well, you tried everything you can. And that Neighbors kid, boy, what an awesome player he is.
He can play.
He's not even healthy. I mean, he was questionable to play. That kid's banged up so often. So he's an awesome player. It's going to be something that, look, maybe the Giants, because a lot of people thought the Giants were going to draft McCarthy last year.
Well, they might get another chance.
They can, yeah. So Minnesota.
Let me ask you a question. We're talking about not giving somebody enough time. There was a guy that was drafted a couple years ago, went to New York, Zach Wilson. Where is he?
Well, he's the back of Denver. So I think he's a quarterback that in the next couple of years, I think he could be just like Sam Darnold.
He did have a lot of talent.
He has a lot of talent. He didn't always play poorly. He had games where you were like, all right, this is the guy I'm waiting for. This is the guy we were expecting. But the Jets were the Jets, and they didn't have the talent around him. They didn't have the coaching. So I don't blame him.
They had a defensive coach.
Awful offensive coaches, and their offensive line was terrible before this year. He didn't have anything. He had nothing. And so he's going to definitely get an opportunity. Absolutely. So it's not going to be on Denver, though, because he's got Knicks there. So he's got to leave. He's got to find a job somewhere. But in this league, when there's their quarterback problems all over, somebody's got to give him a chance to compete for a starting job next year. Someone. I don't care how bad they are. Somebody's got to give him a chance.
With 10 teams that can't do anything right, there's going to be some openings.
Yes. So so right now, really, if you look at it as far as the playoff picture is concerned, the things to keep an eye on, obviously, as we said, it's pretty simple with Denver. They win, they're in. If they lose, Miami can win, and then they're in. And that, by the way, that's a 4:00 game. It's just like the Denver game. And then the Bengals game, of course, being Saturday. So if the Bengals win that game, then they put more pressure, obviously, on Denver to win that game, because Denver can get in with losses by the Bengals and the Dolphins. But they won't know the Dolphins result because they'll be playing at 4:00 on Sunday anyway.
I think it's going to be very difficult for the Bengals to win that game at Pittsburgh.
I agree. I
mean, not that we know that Tomlin's a better coach. We know that the Bengals have the better offense. We know all that. But when it comes to defense, there's no comparison. Who has the better defense?
Yeah, this is a good matchup for Pittsburgh. That's one of those matchup problems that I think Cincinnati might be in trouble in this one. So, Pittsburgh again, they win. They host. They travel to Houston, and they'll be a road favorite. Whoever, if it's the Chargers or the Steelers, they're going to be a road favorite at Houston in the first round of the playoffs. Denver, if they do get that 7 seed, they'll take on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. So that's a surprise.
That's not going to be a bargain.
I mean, that would be what would be really fun would be to see the Bengals sneak in and see the Bengals in Buffalo. I mean, talk about what a high-scoring, fun game that would be. So, because the Bills
make the totals about 65.
So that's what you look for. Eagles are already set with the number 2 spot. The Rams are now 100% officially in the playoffs after Washington's win last night.
And if you talk about the Rams, they're another division winner that are not playing well at all.
No, they're not offensively. They're not getting anything going right now. Defense has been better, but the offense, I mean, Arizona should have won that game. That's the reason why you shake your head and just about Arizona, especially with Kyler Murray. It's like, I mean, you throw the ball. How bad of an accurate throw could you have made there? You basically hit the guy in the head. I mean, what are you doing? First of all, I think they should have ran the ball in that play. It was first down and goal. You had all the time in the world. But anyway, so you throw the ball and it gets picked off. But that's the frustrating thing about Kyler Murray. That's the difference, too. It's funny when you see Penix play and you see him, like he'll go back and then he'll get ready to throw. And then when he throws it, it's like you see him because he's so tall. It's like he has no problem. He just goes back and he throws it. With Kyler Murray, it's like he's got to make these moves in the pocket to make sure that,
everybody on the defense is 3 feet taller than him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really unlikely that he'll ever be a really super quarterback.
Yeah.
Very unlikely. He's going to have like 3 James Connors behind him. And I was actually surprised that Connor actually played that game, but he did, and it makes a difference because he is a big part of that offense.
And Green Bay, even though you would have went into the game thinking that they didn't have anything to play for, the fact is what they did have to play for was the difference between, this is important, the reason by losing the game, they are now on a collision course with the Eagles instead of the Rams. So right there, again, it shows you the difference, like I was saying, about whether the players care or not. I don't think they did. You saw them try to come back. I mean, they just couldn't do it. But that really cost them because you just beat the Rams about a month ago pretty easily. And now you have to go ahead and go to Philadelphia, one of the best teams in the league, because you lost this game yesterday. So that was a tough loss, and all of a sudden they were looking really good, and Minnesota just put the whooping on them early, and Green Bay just couldn't come back. So I don't know. Did your mind change about the Packers after that one loss, or?
Well, no, because I think the Packers are a good team. I just don't think they're ready to go to the next level. I just don't. I still don't believe that Jordan Love is a consistent enough.
I agree.
Quarterback. I mean, he has moments where he looks like he's a world beater, but there's too many non-world beater moments.
Yep.
He gets on a run. He could win 3-4 games and just be on a hot run, but he's not the most consistent guy. Where we're seeing consistency is Jared Goff, Darnold. You're talking about consistently playing well every week. That's just been unbelievable.
By the way, Washington is in Dallas this week. Now, I just mentioned the significance of the loss for the Packers. Washington just has been in 2 back-to-back incredibly close, gut-wrenchingly, even though it was positive, wins. Now they got to try to go and kind of do it again, and they got to go on the road to Dallas, and the Cowboys are sitting there. And, of course, Cooper Rush showed everybody who Cooper Rush really was last week on Sunday. But still, that's not going to be easy. It's your rivals. And if Dallas can knock off Washington, then Green Bay gets back to 6th seed. They get back to playing the Rams instead of the Eagles. So
I don't know what – I mean, I'm going to say that – see, first of all, you have no CD Lamb.
No.
They don't have many weapons.
They don't.
And Lamb is a huge part of their offense.
Yep, we saw that on Sunday. Yeah.
That was a big embarrassment to Dallas yesterday, how they played. McCarthy, his stock was going up, and they were playing so well. But, I mean, they didn't show up at all. I mean, that was without Hurts. They just didn't show up.
Yeah.
Now, that was without Hurts, without CD Lamb.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that Washington can come back with another major effort.
And maybe it's lucky that they're playing a team like the Cowboys, because maybe it's not going to take a major effort. It'll just take a little bit of an effort, and that could be all they need. And maybe they'll win an ugly game.
I certainly would not lay 4 on the road with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm definitely not laying it.
Yeah, that would be the only thing.
If I'm going to do anything, I'm going to take Dallas. I'm not going to lay Washington.
So I don't know the line yet. Like I said, I don't know any of these lines, but I'm going to guess that the Vikings are favored over Detroit.
Well, yes. Let me see. No, Detroit's at home. They're 2.5.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I forgot about that. I thought it was in Minnesota. I forgot about that.
You're not going to favor the Vikings.
That's right. It's in Detroit.
Now, you got to remember something. That's going to come off the board, because when they start the game, because injuries can happen and usually do, that can change everything.
Yeah, the Vikings right now getting 3 points about, if you want to buy the half a point, but getting 3 points the way they're playing, that looks awfully good right now.
Well, considering the rest advantage and the defensive injuries on Detroit as well.
And Detroit already beat him this year, so
you would have to favor Minnesota.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to go. And yeah. And again, the Chargers.
Most likely, I wouldn't even play that. I'd just play the over.
And the Chargers are also, again, we told you they're in a situation where they're going to need to win to try to get that. Again, this all depends. Definitely a game where.
That's a dangerous game for the Chargers.
The Pittsburgh game will tell you everything on Saturday. So if the Bengals win, then the Chargers on Sunday will go to Las Vegas knowing that they can get a big win to play Houston. So
the Chargers are in trouble this week with that game, because for some reason, the team that had all the advantages in the draft, they're starting to play really well, and the Raiders are dangerous right now.
Well, that's it, but they're beating crappy teams, though.
I know, but you can't keep. Here's the Chargers go across the country and beat up the Pats, and now go to Vegas, and this is hard. It's a hard grind to do this. So, Vegas.
What's the line?
You
About 7 or something?
5.5.
5.5. That's not bad.
I'm not laying it.
By the way, when the news came out that Chuba Hubbard wasn't playing, I saw that line go up to 10.5 Tampa Bay on game day. It was 7.5 like in the big when we were talking the day before, and it went all the way up to 10.5, and that was the right way. Obviously, they just kicked the crap out of the Carolina Panthers. But that just shows you, too, the difference. He's not a star player, but you take your running game out of Carolina, and they just couldn't really do much against
And
Tampa Bay.
it also may change the attitude of the other players when, they see that and they say, well, we're not really trying this week. And they're human beings. I mean, they're not going to go out there. And this is a tough game. You actually get killed playing this game.
Yeah.
So, when you're risking your life to play, that's why you want to have the idea that the entire organization is there to win.
Now, what about, we talked about some negative, but what about the positive of you're looking for a young quarterback? You're not going to gift them the job, but you're going to bring them in to compete. What did you think about Kenny Pickett playing with broken ribs, going out there? And, obviously they played the Cowboys, not a great team, but a competitive team. And you quarterback the team and they destroy the other team. That's going to be a real good positive for Pickett. Again,
he had a shot at Pittsburgh. He played a long time at the university there and went to the Steelers. He's getting another chance. And you got to – these guys have talent. You've said it a bunch of times. You got to give these guys time to develop. And there aren't that many guys out there.
No.
Right now, we really don't have that much coming out of college this year at the quarterback position that you'd really say, oh, well, that's really good. He's going to really be good. We don't have that.
No, neither guy. There's only 2 first-round draft picks. It's going to be Ward and it's going to be Sanders. And both guys probably will get picked early enough that they're going to be expected to start right away.
Well, somebody's got to pick up that kid from Colorado because he's the best player in the draft. It's not the quarterback.
Oh, Hunter. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The Patriots right now have the first pick and they don't need a quarterback.
You got to take him.
So they have to take Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm not happy about being a Jet fan. I don't want to see him in my division.
I actually believe the Patriots were tanking to get that. I think they are.
Well, again, you can try all you can. It's up to the players on the field, though, and they just didn't look good, the players on the field. So, and there's some talk, too. I was kind of surprised when I heard that the Patriots might be looking for a head coach.
Well, Mayo, I don't think Mayo has earned a lot.
I'm not saying that he has, but, I don't look at, first of all, I didn't even think he should be the coach. But if you're going to give him the job, I don't know. I'm not New England. I don't know.
Suppose you could get the offensive coordinator out of Detroit as your head coach.
Oh, well, anybody is going to give that kid. That's a no-brainer. He's the guy. He's going to have his pick of wherever he wants to go at the time he wants to go is when he's going to go. Nobody just knows where that is. A lot of it's going to do with his family, where they feel comfortable. But he's going to pick his spot, and it's going to be a place with a quarterback.
And Drake May
May's there.
He has talent. He's a big kid, 6'5", throws the ball. Yeah, they got talent.
He's going to go to a place where he knows they've got the pick, and then he knows he can draft his own quarterback. So
I'll tell you what, I'd like to see him. If he doesn't go, I'd love to see him go to Atlanta.
If he waits another year or two, he might be able to get that job. So, because they're not going to fire this guy after this season. So,
Raheem Mars?
yeah, they're not going to fire him already.
Oof, after what he did.
Well, they kind of like Morris. He goes back a ways with the organization, so they're not going to do him bad after that.
You can throw dirt on that.
But they can get an offensive coordinator, then that'd be different. Maybe they can hire Zach Taylor when he gets fired. Bring him in there. Let him coach.
Cincinnati never fires anybody.
That's the thing. Yeah. So
you take Cleveland, they fire everybody. Cincinnati didn't fire anybody.
What might happen is, and I'm not saying it's the worst idea, but what might happen is if they don't fire him, you know what that means is they're going to definitely fire the defensive coordinator. So, but he has to. You have to have a plan, though. Who is it going to be you're going to bring in to coach the defense? It better be somebody with a name. It better be a good.
Let's talk about one thing here. What is wrong with Houston? Why did they fall off the cliff? All injuries? Is that's all it is?
No. Mark brought it up in the beginning of the season when he talked about teams that go through the regression after they basically have that run from 4 wins to 12 or whatever they did. What do you call it? Like winning by 3 times your total from the previous year is always going to go through a regression next year. And that's what Houston did. Houston went from like a 4-win team to like a 12-win team. And the reason is there's several reasons. And one of them is you go from a last place schedule to a first place schedule. That's significant. And then you throw in all the other stuff. You throw in injuries, you throw in your rookie quarterbacks in his second year, and everything kind of takes care of itself. But that schedule, I think that says a lot. They were playing a lot of good teams this year.
Right.
And then they got injured. They got a lot of guys like again, who that they would have been if they would have had Diggs and Collins the whole year.
Oh, and then they losing Dell last week too.
And then Dell, yeah. I mean, that's yeah. So now Mixon's been really good for them. That was a really good pickup, the running back. So that's good. So next year they should be fine. They'll be back. I guess that regression will be over, but they will get a tough schedule again, being the first place team. And that is the one thing the NFL has done right, is the whole idea of the whole wave, because that never used to be the case. I forget when they started doing that, but that was like one of the best decisions they ever started making, was making sure that the schedule was done properly. So fourth place teams get fourth place schedules.
I also like that they're flexing these games.
Yes.
I don't know how difficult all that is to do, but that's great. That a game like Atlanta last night against Washington was great.
Yep. One of these years they're going to do it with Monday night, but they haven't done that yet. They haven't done, we're going to move the Monday night game to Sunday. We'll move a Sunday. I don't think you can do that. That's too much.
Hard. You got to be able to get those venues to change what they have going
everything.
on.
Hotels, everything.
Transportation, security. Yeah. I mean, everything's got to flip at it, really quick.
That would have to be like a month in advance or something. I don't even know if they could do that. But at least they're doing what they're doing, and that's really good. And
no, it's good. It's good stuff. Yeah.
It's because
I'll tell you what I do hate. The game is on tonight. Oh, what streaming network's going to be? I got to look for like 96 streaming networks to find it. It's like, why?
Is it Monday usually? Is it Prime?
Yeah, but then they put 2 games on
Netflix.
On Netflix, of course, that was terrible. Netflix drew a bad card there. I mean, those 2 games were awful. The losing team scored 10-2.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah. It was bad.
Nothing you can do about that. And unfortunately, the Saturday games this week, even though it's Baltimore and Pittsburgh, the matchups. I mean, look, the Pittsburgh Bengal one should be good, but the Baltimore one is like, I know why you're doing it, because whoever wins the division and all that, but. I mean, that first one could be ugly, like you said. That could be over in the first half. Probably will be over in the first half.
Well, I wish they would start Winston. I mean, at least you get some entertainment. I mean, this kid DTR. I mean, God bless him.
How can they not know by now that this kid is not going to be a starter? So why would you just throw him out there?
Is Winston hurt? that they, or is
But
it just
hey, you've said it before. That's how you tank. That's how you tank. And that's probably what's going on. They haven't had a first round pick in 5 years.
They have 3 wins.
It's incredible. I know.
It's horrible.
Yeah. The funny thing is you got teams with just take a look at the teams with their records. And you can even start with the Jets. Because remember in the beginning of the season, many people, I didn't, but many people were picking the Jets to win the division as a Super Bowl team. And it wasn't just because of Aaron Rodgers. It's because their talent on the may
I'm going to tell you something. You may not know this, but there's a lot of sharps here in Las Vegas. These are people that bet for a living that every stinking week poured their money in on the Jets.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. We were scratching our heads. Where's all this money coming from? There was one group that had them so highly rated because of Rodgers that it just he destroyed them.
Must have been a formula from the days when he was with the Packers that used to always work, but they don't work no more.
It was bad.
Yeah. So the Jets had the talent, 4 wins. Browns have much better talent than 3 wins. Jacksonville, much more talent than 4 wins. Let's see. Who else has more talent than the wins? Let's see. Remember when the season began? I'm not going to say the Bears have the talent because they don't. But remember in the beginning of the season when all the teams were playing good in that division, including the Bears, and people were talking about, hey, can all 4 teams make the playoffs?
They were actually 4-2.
There you go. So, and now it's so funny how that turned around. Let's see. And yeah, so, and of course, San Francisco, but they do have 6 wins. So yeah, so there are several teams there, Jacksonville, Jets, Browns, that are not a 3 or 4 win talented team.
Carolina's got 4. Tennessee's got 3. Giants have 3.
And those teams deserve to be where they are.
Yeah.
They do not have talent.
The Jets have 4. Yeah. I mean, you got Vegas with 4.
Next week.
I would not be surprised if Vegas wins this week.
Now, again, you said the money line's probably over 2-1. So,
the crazy thing is, this team is playing really hard now, and they blew the draft choice issue, and then now they're fighting for the coach. They like the coach.
Well, you know what? If Pittsburgh wins on Saturday night, then the Charger game doesn't mean anything.
And that's very likely to happen because Pittsburgh at home,
against the Bengals,
with a superior defense and a superior running game, is not that far out of the question that they could win that game.
Oh, and we usually slam coaches, but we shouldn't have forgotten the fact that, hey, Dan Quinn, not just because I had money on Washington, okay, but for going for the touchdown and not the field goal.
I agree.
Because he remembers what happened.
You get the ball back to the other side, they're going to beat you.
Yeah, well, he remembers what happened when he went out with this kicker against the Eagles. No, I think it was the Eagle game, or it was the game before that. I forget which game it was. And he threw his kicker out there. Again, a backup kicker. And he missed the field goal. And I think that was, again, I remember which game that was. It was just a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, so he learned his lesson. And he probably saw the game the earlier, what was it, the night before against the Bengals game, the Denver game. He probably saw that game too and went, after what happened to me and I saw what happened, I'm going for the touchdown. I'm not relying on these kickers anymore.
After he lost the Super Bowl being up 28-3, he's been taking extra sleeping drugs for all these years because nobody could ever believe that you could blow that.
It'll keep you going for the throat, which is a good thing. Never take your foot off the throat of the opposition until the game is over. And so Dan Quinn deserves some credit there because that was the other thing. Once they get down to the 1 yard line, like 99% of the head coaches in the NFL would have kicked the field goal. All right, I'm at the 1. Let me just kick the field goal. Game's over. Let's get out of here.
But
Nope.
it wouldn't be over because the other team's going to get the ball.
No, I was talking about overtime. Oh, you're talking but that was the first possession?
I think it was.
Okay. Well, how much time was left in that?
You could not possibly give the ball back to the other side.
All right. Well, then maybe I give him too much credit then. But that is the thing that you would hope that he would do, because I would think that you'd see these again, unless you have a good Justin Tucker or those types of guys that are automatic. I'm sorry, but I just think nowadays I just can't trust kickers anymore. You have to go for these things. You just can't just be sitting back and going, all right, I'm at the 30, I'm at the 25. Let's run the ball two or three times. Let's kick the field goal. It's just, you can't think like that anymore. And when you do think like that, you deserve everything you get. When you lose the game and people want to, throw rocks and bottles at you, you deserve it all. Before we go, last predictions. I'm going to give my last predictions for sure on these playoff games. So there's some big games coming up. Of course, Tuesday night, Penn State, Boise.
I did a bowl show today.
All right. So
the first time all year that I talked college.
There you go. So these are the ones I'm going to go with. And then you could say who you're going with. So I'm taking the points in the Boise State Penn State game.
I agree.
I'm actually even going to I'll throw a few bucks and try to see if I can make some money on the money line in some way, because I think they're capable of winning the game.
You think Boise can win the game?
I think they can. I don't think they will, but I think they can. I think it'll be a close game. I'm not taking the 11 because I think it's just a lot of points. And I think it's 11 because I think it'll be a 4-quarter, 5 minutes to go game.
The strength of the schedule that's making Penn State that big a favorite. That's the issue.
Yeah. And then in the other games on Saturday, I am going to take the points with Arizona State, even though that's the game that I'm going to be the most concerned with. And the reason is
with Sarkisian 8-15-1 ATS is a favorite.
Yeah, the thing I'm concerned with though is just the fact that they have 2 weapons on offense, and one of them is out for the year, Arizona State, and they're coming from nowhere. They're in a conference that's not very strong, but they're playing so good at the end of the season. They're just on fire with their confidence and the way they're playing. They got a quarterback, a young kid who's playing well. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. I mean, Texas came this close to not covering at home against Clemson. And I think Arizona State is every bit as good as Clemson. And this one's in a neutral site. So and the funny thing is that when I looked at it, I said to myself, by time I started going into the game 3 and game 4, I started realizing, well, let's see. Last week I went with 3 favorites and 4 favorites covered. It looks like I'm going with all the dogs this week. And sure enough, I know the Ohio State game was starting to give me some, even though Oregon was my pick in the beginning, was starting to give me a little bit more, trouble. But when it came down to it, I just realized, let's just remember, these 2 teams are so evenly matched. But a couple of things. One, Ohio State is not, they still have issues on the offensive line, and they just do. And they're not a complete team yet. So, and I just think Oregon is just the best team in college football, and I'm not going to take that away from them. So I'm sticking with Oregon. And then I'm going with Notre Dame. Again, I think this kid, Gunnar Stockton, does not have the weapons around him to help him out. And Notre Dame's defense is I think they're gonna come through. And I'm just as you've pretty much known all season, I'm not a big SEC guy this year. So, but yeah, the 2 games that worry me the most would be Arizona State and Notre Dame. But I'm going to go riding Oregon all the way. And I love the fact that I'm almost getting 3 points with the best team in college football. And Boise State, I think, is the best dog because they're getting a lot of points and they're more than capable of winning the game outright. What about you? What did you wind up doing?
Best play is Oregon, Ohio State over. Oh. Second best play is Georgia, Notre Dame under.
Okay. I like both of them. That's exactly how I would think it would go. Like in the 30s with the Oregon-Ohio State game.
Well, the Notre Dame-Georgia game is simply the quarterbacks are unproven. and I don't think they're going to be able to produce against these defenses.
Well,
That's the. I mean, that's probably the easiest. The other one is these two teams, Ohio State and Oregon, have already played. They scored in the 60s, and now they know each other. Now it's. I think it's a shootout.
Yeah. That's the thing about college is that even no matter how good your defenses are, and they're both very good defenses, when you have really good offenses, the defenses just can't stop them. They're just too good offensive. That's the way college is. They just can't stop these guys. By the way, I was interviewing a guy from Georgia the other day, and we have the interview on the channel, so you can go check it out. Matter of fact, there'll probably be a link in the description of this video. And he came up with a great point about Georgia and what caused, because I asked him what caused the problems, what he worried about. And he talked about the Georgia Tech game. And he talked about the similarities with the fact that Georgia Tech had Haynes King, a running quarterback, and so does Notre Dame. And that gave them all sorts of problems. Haynes King is a really good two-way quarterback, but he's mostly successful because he can run the ball. And he can throw, but he's also very athletic. And they put up like 30-something points before overtime against Georgia. The game was definitely like 27 or 30-30 going into overtime. So if they can put up that much against Georgia's defense, and Riley Leonard is considered a better quarterback overall than Haynes King, even though I like Haynes King better. But Riley Leonard is considered, a really good two-way quarterback. He's like Notre Dame's second leading rusher. He has like 14 rushing touchdowns. So I thought that was great comparison.
The only problem is that if that's true, it's going to hurt my under.
It would. That would be the only thing. But what is the total?
I actually have to look. I think it was like, I don't have it, and that computer shut down on me. Let me see here. I'll find it.
Probably something about what I can get it to. It's 46, I think. I got 46.
I'll check right now. I got it's right here in a minute. No. Georgia 46.
Okay. Well, let's say even if Notre Dame scores 27, Georgia would have to score what? Over 17. So I think that's still possible. I still think Notre Dame can, cause problems. I don't expect Notre Dame. Again, it wasn't like Georgia Tech scored 50. So if Notre Dame could score like 27 and hold Georgia, because Notre Dame's got a good defense, hold Georgia to 14 or 17, 27-17, that'll get you a win.
43. Yep.
So I think that's something. So, yeah. So, but anyway, I thought it was a great comparison because I was also wondering, Notre Dame didn't have any weapons on offense except Love. And keep an eye when you see that kid play more, the running back for Notre Dame, he's going to be the next great running back in college football next year. He is just fantastic. He's the one that ran for 99 yards in that game last week against Indiana. That kid is just phenomenal. And he just doesn't get the credit because he's not playing for an SEC team. He's not playing for even though Notre Dame is Notre Dame, but nobody gives a shit about Notre Dame anymore.
How about this stat? The ACC is 0-10 against the spread in the bowls.
So it's dating back to last year?
This year.
They played in 10 bowl games this year?
I think that's what they said.
Damn. That's right. The conferences are bigger now. 0-10.
Oh, whoever heard of such a thing?
So that means that you definitely want to take Washington against Louisville. And then you want to take, if they still lose, then you want to take Mississippi giving 17 against Duke. And the one I liked.
That doesn't mean this is going to continue.
No, I'm just saying if it continues. So if Washington covers and it's 11, then you go with Mississippi. And if it's 12, the one I do like, no matter what anyway, was Minnesota over Virginia Tech. I like that one anyway. That was actually one of my favorite ones.
Virginia Tech's lost a lot of players.
Yeah. And I like Minnesota anyway. They got a good quarterback. And matter of fact, the Minnesota quarterback could be a sneaky mid-round quarterback to keep an eye on. His name is Max Brosmer. He's got a lot of experience. He was an FCS quarterback. Minnesota brought him up this year to be their quarterback, and he's looked fine. He's done a good job. He's got, he's one of these pocket passers, got a good arm. He doesn't necessarily have all the wow intangible stuff, but again, an experienced quarterback. He proved he can play with the big boys. So he's going to get drafted a little bit later. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. So if you watch the game out there.
Look, if you can take Brock Purdy, the last guy in the draft, and he's starting quarterback with the Super Bowl. I mean, he may not be the best quarterback in the league, but he's still he's still good. And yeah, you don't have to have a draft. A lot of number one draft choices don't work out. Look at Caleb Williams. He's not doing very well.
So anybody that's afraid, like the Giant fans or the Raider, I didn't get the first round. Hey, maybe it's better for you. Sometimes that doesn't work out that way.
Take if you can get your hands on that kid Henry or whatever his name is for what's it, Hunter? What's his name? Hunter.
Oh yeah, Travis Hunter for Colorado.
Just get him, and get a couple offensive and defensive linemen. That's what makes your team.
There's only one Travis Hunter, so he could be the first pick.
Well, he should be the first pick.
Whoever's not needing a quarterback. Now, if the Patriots are sitting there at number one, they could just trade down a little bit, and maybe they still get Travis Hunter if that's who they want.
You could see some moves.
So that could be very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, well, right now the number one pick is going to go to the Patriots.
As of today, correct.
And they don't need a quarterback.
Nope. So you would think it's definitely Hunter.
Yes.
So he's definitely the guy. I mean, there's no other. I mean, there's going to be a receiver. I think the receiver out of Arizona will be a top 6 pick. He'll be like one of those top receivers from last year. That's how good he is. Then you have the 2 quarterbacks. You do have a couple of offensive linemen that'll go in the top 5 or 6, 7. And then you got Travis Hunter. I'm going to be interested to see where Genty goes. The Boise State running back, the runner-up to Hunter in the Heisman, because the running game is starting to pick up steam again in the NFL.
Well, it should have never been downgraded. The best teams have good runners, good offensive line play.
Yep.
I mean, you can't change the model of what football is. You're not going to win throwing the ball 50 times a game. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
First of all, you're going to get your quarterback killed. And then that means you're going to have 2 quarterbacks of equal talent, which is hard to find one. So in order to protect your quarterback, you need to have good runners. Come on.
That's why I was stunned to see the stat. I was stunned for a second, and then I came back to the realization, of course, it's the Jets and their terrible coaching. That the Jets had like the worst rushing yards per game this year. And I'm like, wait a second. You've got the best offensive line they've had there in like 4 or 5 years. And you have Breece Hall in the backfield, and you got the worst rushing. Just what is it? What does that tell you right there? That these guys have no idea what they're doing. Yeah, let's let Aaron Rodgers at 40 whatever years old throw the ball 60% of the time instead of us running the football. With
Aaron Rodgers was a terrible hire because he not only came there, cost him a lot of money, but he insisted on bringing other people that he wanted to bring, and none of them are any good.
Well, that was last year. This year he didn't, but it was all too late. So, and that's why Joe Douglas is gone. That's why they're all gone. Look, Monday, when we come back on this show next Monday, is going to be a huge day. It's Black Monday. We're going to know everything that goes on with all the head coaching firings and the general manager firings. And I'm going to, and teams that have already gotten a jump start, like my team, I'm going to be counting the minutes to find out who the new general manager is going to be and who they're going to hire as a head coach, because that's going to change programs in the NFL. This is it for fan bases like mine. This is what we wait for, because if you get the wrong general manager, I heard that 2 guys that the Jets are considering or at least talking to, you're not going to believe this, but you are, because it's the Jets, were Rex Ryan again and Ron Rivera.
I did hear that, and that is a terrible idea. That is a terrible idea.
62-year-old defensive coach
I don't care
Ron
how
Rivera.
old he is. That's a terrible idea. The
If
only
they-
thing he ever he had.
Oh
That's a terrible
no!
idea. Hey,
It'll never happen.
what about? Okay, let's talk. You talk about this. Is John Gruden ever going to come back to coaching?
Yes, I think he could. I think he's going to be a head coach this year.
And how about Pete Carroll? He wants to coach. I mean, I know how old he is, but he's a different kind of old. He's got more energy.
I agree.
Than any 30 or 40-year-old.
I think he'll coach. Yes.
I mean,
but other teams might look at him the way they looked at Belichick, though, that he's too old. But
they didn't look at Belichick that he was too old. Belichick was too arrogant.
Well, he came with his own demands. Yeah.
Pete Carroll doesn't have that kind of personality.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Totally different kind of personality.
But
Belichick is arrogant. He's arrogant.
I think so. I think you could hire Carroll, sure. And also look at, you got Mike Vrabel. I think he's going to get a head coaching job.
He's a solid guy. I don't know the championship stuff, but he's a solid guy.
Anybody that can have a good record against Bill Belichick, his former coach, is right by me, because Bill Belichick used to kill all of his former assistants, and not Vrabel. Vrabel used to beat him. So that was always something that I always remembered, and that means you're doing something right. So yeah,
Correct.
So Vrabel, Gruden, and who's the other one you said? Oh, Pete Carroll. That's 3. Ron Rivera is never getting a head coaching job again.
Oh,
Nobody's going to be that dumb.
Please don't bring him back as
No, nobody's going to be that dumb. Rex Ryan is not going to be a head coach. If he was going to be a head coach, he would have been a head coach 5 years ago.
You're going to get some of these offensive coordinators to come out. The Detroit guy, and there's another one.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Well,
Washington's guy.
He's had a run at head coach. He didn't do very well.
But you know a team will hire him. And why? See, as a Jet fan, he's not high on my list. But I would much rather have him than other potential candidates that would be on the defensive side. Because
you got to get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you get your young quarterback. You let him develop him, and you want to fire him after 2 or 3 years, fine. But at least maybe you'll develop the quarterback the right way. So I think other teams would do that. I think they would consider Kingsbury for that reason. I think he'll possibly. You know what? I tell you what. You know what? A landing spot for him. He was an assistant coach. I think he even played in New England. Keep an eye on that. So Kingsbury's got ties to the Patriots, and they've got Drake May. So that would be interesting.
I'm kind of impressed with Drake May. I think he has a lot of talent.
Yeah, so he needs good coaching.
Matter of fact, of all the rookie quarterbacks, the one that I think is the worst is the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Well, you said you didn't like him to begin with.
Nope. Yeah, Bo Nix has looked good under Peyton. And obviously Daniels is awesome. And then, Drake May's looking good. And Penix, look, it's only been a couple games, but he already looks like he's going to be fine. So
I'm impressed with him. I'm only 2 games, but I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think we saw in the game exactly what we all knew the kid was capable of. He's still a little bit off, a little bit here and there, but for the most part, he stands in the pocket if he needs to. He doesn't get rattled that way. He's a big guy. He loves to throw the deep ball, which is what you love about quarterbacks.
He's got an arm like a rocket.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, yeah, that's they've got some, that's why if you're an Atlanta fan, at least even if you end up, which you're probably going to end up losing next, you're not going to make the playoffs. At least you could go, well, we got our quarterback though, and that's important. Now you got to get a head coach.
What do you do with Cousins?
I don't know what his contract is like, but if you can, nowadays teams don't mind swallowing $40 million. So,
well, you got Cousins, you got Russell Wilson, you got Stafford, you got Flacco. All these guys that are older, they're basically, and Aaron Rodgers, they're all basically should be gone.
Now, it's looking like we're getting to that point. Absolutely. But that's why Monday is going to be really exciting. There's a lot going on Monday. You're going to find out whether or not your team fired the head coach that you wanted gone, or maybe, hey, maybe he stays. Look, the one guy that maybe saved his job could have been Brian Daboll. Because remember, we were wondering whether or not
I don't know if he wanted them to do what they did.
management. No, maybe they're pretty angry at what
And
happened.
he is part of management,
Well, but
I mean that was unbelievable. 14
yeah.
points a game to 45.
Yeah,
Phew.
that's why the Colts. I don't think anybody thought the
And
Colts had cut.
What about Steichen? Is he any good?
It looks like I would think the GM and the coach are gone.
Yeah, as an offensive coordinator, look, his job is he did a terrible job with that team.
Matter of fact, I was trying to set up an interview with Kent Sterling, who covers the team, and we're going to talk next week. So keep an eye on that. Matter of fact, I'm going to have loads of interviews coming up now. I'm going to start with all of the insiders from the teams that did not make the playoffs. So we're going to go all into that. I'm going to interview all these guys. And the main thing is to find out what their future's like, what they need in the offseason, the draft. So if you're into all that stuff, check that out. But Kent will let me know soon. So maybe when we do the show on Thursday, I'll have an answer. Because I asked him. I said, he hasn't gotten back to me. I said, what do you think? Is the GM and the head coach gone? So I'll hopefully find out from him. And then don't forget, if you're a golf fan, look out for tomorrow, because we start our new golf show with Brady Cannon, Las Vegas dude, very good golf handicapper.
Brady's a good guy, great guy. Yeah.
Yep. So Brady is coming on, joining the Proline TV staff here, and the Century Tournament. It starts on Thursday out in Hawaii, and we're going to preview that on Tuesday and every Tuesday right here on Proline TV. So check it out. If you're a golf fan, we're going to go over the matter of fact, Brady gave me his little, his formula of how he likes to bet on golf. Much different than me. So that's really good. You're going to get a lot of variety.
I'm anxious to learn. He's very good at it. Golf betting has really grown in the last couple of years. I mean, when you look at it, you say, oh, how can you pick one guy? But, they got the top 5, top 10, top 20. There's ways of betting and making money at golf without just trying to pick the winner of the event, which is very difficult to do, by the way.
Yeah. So this is how Brady is going to have his picks. He's going to do, straight picks, basically, regular win tournament picks. And that's going to be like 4 to 7 players he'll have. Then he's going to have top 20 finishes picks. So he'll probably use the same 4 to 7 picks each week to win the outright. And then he'll put more money on them to just finish in the top 20. And then he's going to have around 2 to 4 head-to-head matchups. And that's going to be the most money he's going to spend each week. So we're going to have basically a formula where he's going to, so roughly how it's done financially. So Brady will spend probably $20 a piece on on the outright winner. He'll spend about $50 a piece on the top 20 finish picks, and he'll spend about $100 each on the head-to-head matchups. So I'll have I'm just doing regular picks. So I'm going to do my regular picks. I'm going to have the one and dones. So I'll be doing, which is basically a contest where you can only use that player once a year, and you have to pick them for that specific tournament. So it's a really cool contest. So we're going to have a bunch of different ways to make money each week on golf. And you want to definitely join us for that if you're into golf. And like you said,
and that's every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday,
starting
tomorrow. And don't forget, starting next month will be our NASCAR coverage. So we're gonna have. So once we hit February, we'll be doing golf every week, NASCAR every week, and everything else going on, including the fact that we're gonna have to start talking probably next week, Jim, college basketball.
I'm betting it every day, so I don't have the narrative on every team, but I have numbers on every team.
Yeah. And so we're going to get into that starting next week, hopefully. So,
it's the biggest problem with college basketball is there's so many teams. There's so many teams, but I think there's like 300 of them, and that's tough to keep up with. But I have a program, we call it Fast Facts. It's a really great program I use, and eventually we'll put it up on the website and make it available. The reason we don't right now is we're having a problem with the server because there's so many teams. So anyway,
Okay.
we're going to fix it.
Oh, so that's like what, a sort of like a database of how you wager
Oh, it's. I wish
basketball?
I could show. I wish I could show it to you, but maybe I'll figure out a way to show it to you. It's 300 teams. It's and every week, it's every day. It's the matchups, and it tells you all their games, what they've done against the spread, what home and away, current conference, non-conference. I mean, it's got it, and it's an amazing program. I did it 40 some years ago.
So it's your formula.
Well, it's a long story. I was betting with this guy in Delaware, and he was an older gentleman, and one of his customers had quit betting because he was ill. So he said, "See if you can do something with this. I'd like to see it live because I've done so well with it." And he was always a winning player. So he gave in this stack of papers this thick. So the guy I was playing with was going out of business. He was getting old too. So one day I met him for lunch, and he had to pay me that week, and he had this briefcase full, and I said, "What the hell is that?" His name was Ronnie, and I said, "What is that?" He said, "Well, I'm going to give you this because maybe you can do something with it." I said, "What is it?" He said, "Well, it's this player that he developed this program, and it's all written up on paper like this. Remember paper with pencil? Well, that was him."
I do.
And so I started working with it, and then I met this husband and wife here in Las Vegas, and I asked them, I said, "Can we do something with this?" And we started studying it and understanding what he was doing, and because we really didn't know what he was doing. And all of a sudden we saw there's formulas in here, and how do these formulas work? And this guy was did all this by hand. So this husband and wife were programmers, and this is back in the day when the TRS-80, the Radio Shack computer.
Okay.
And with the little discs. So we
floppy disks.
This floppy disk. We wrote a program for this damn thing, and we put the games in for the next day, and we plug it into the machine. It would take 12 hours for this thing to run all the stuff for the next day. Okay. And then it would automatically start the print and come out, and there'd be a stack of papers.
Oh, yeah.
Every morning when you get up at 6 o'clock, they would be there. So you look through this, and it would give you the plays. It would actually print out who's going to win.
Okay. And
we started betting this thing, and all of a sudden bookmakers are calling and said, "We don't want to watch your action anymore."
Okay.
So
how long?
It's been around. So
you have been using the formula ever since?
45 years.
And how successful has it been for you percentage-wise?
I never count percentages. I only count money, and I've made money.
So you've made more money.
I might have actually lost a little money, maybe 3 years out of those over 4 decades.
Wow.
It's
and how many games do you bet on that every day? Say
when I was a sick younger person, I would probably bet 15, 18. Now I'm more like 3 to 6.
Okay.
I don't want to have that many plays out there, so I bet 3 or 6. Like today, I have 2.
Well, that means we're going to have we'll have to have a nice little format that we're going to put together for you guys out there for our college basketball content.
Well, I would put it on Proline TV, but right now we've got to get this figured out how to make it work, because I can read it, but we can't make it go over.
Yeah, you'll have to show me exactly what it looks like, and then what we'll do is we'll put a template together. And then when you pick out the games you like, you send me the games, and I'll put it on the template, and we'll show everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just got to get me the information so I can see exactly how
we just did an hour and a half together.
Yeah.
And now we can't. And this time we can't blame Andy.
No. And this was supposed to be the week where we didn't have anything to talk about because the games are so bad.
But I'm going to tell you something. These 14 teams that go into these playoffs.
Yeah,
we're gonna crush this thing. This we're gonna crush it.
Absolutely.
Because we're going to get rid of the bottom of the league, which is total crap, and we're going to be dealing with some quality teams.
Yep.
There's some bad ones in there too. Some
But,
of these
yeah,
14 are not good.
it's a lot easier. Yep.
And the one thing, the bookmaker is going to have a hard time making lines on it because they're so used to making lines on the crappy teams. Now they got good teams.
We'll take advantage of that starting
every
week.
game's going to go to overtime.
What, in the bowls or next week?
The pros.
Okay. Well, that's next week. So we're on the air next Monday with this show. Not only are we going to be talking about all the firings, but we're going to know the lines for the first playoff games. We're also going to take a look at some of the futures. Maybe I like doing futures. I know you don't do them too often, but we'll throw up some futures out there that might be worth your while.
I don't do futures because they don't give you the right odds. The odds are bad.
You have to do the parlays like you talking about. And I've already done a few where you get the college champion and the Super Bowl. You put them together.
Yeah.
So okay, I've already done a couple. So yeah, we'll go over that next Monday.
An hour and a half, we're done.
We're done. I'll see you on Thursday. I'll see you in 2025, Jim.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Take care.
Take care, Jim. I'll see everybody tomorrow for golf.